Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a full face of drugstore makeup. I really like doing these videos even though I don't do them very often on my channel, but I feel like every single time I go into a drugstore, I always browse through the makeup section just to see what I can find, just to see what's on sale, just to see what's new. And I love finding drugstore makeup that I actually really like. So today we're going to be doing a mix of products that are relatively new for me. Nothing is a first impression today, but some of the products are relatively new. I've been using them for the past few days or so and have been really quickly falling in love with them. And then we're going to do some other products that are like tried and true drugstore holy grails for me. So I'm going to show y'all how I use those products to come up with today's look. So let's jump right into it. Okay, my first product is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. Just in case this is your first time here, I have a very hard time finding complexion products that work for me from the drugstore. I have a very cool pink undertone and it seems like everything in my complexion range is always like yellow and golden, and I need something that runs very cool. And I feel like NYX, in collaboration with Alyssa Ashley, was like, let's make this particular shade for Sonia. This is the shade Mahogany, and this is one of the best matching foundations that I have. That's one of the reasons that I like it. This is also one of the foundations that I use when I'm going somewhere and I really want my makeup to last. I think the longest I've been able to wear this foundation was for like 13 or 14 hours. And yeah, I did have to like touch it up in terms of like blotting off excess oil. But I feel like I have to do that with every foundation. But outside of that, I was very impressed with the way that this foundation held up on my face. So again, just in case you can use me as a shade reference, I am wearing the shade Mahogany. And I feel like this comes in 45 shades. Okay, I'm sorry if y'all can hear background noise because I had to open the door because it is so hot and humid out. And if you hear rumbling, that's just thunder because Mother Nature is doing her thing right now. So moving on to the next product, I feel like this is one of the stars of the show today. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, is that what it's called? L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear More Than Concealer. So I'm going to be mixing two shades together, 400 Caramel and 415 Honey. And just like I said earlier, I have issues with finding complexion products from the drugstore. So this is one of those products where I do have to mix together. Sorry, I had to find my brush. However, I think this concealer is so good that I am willing to buy two to mix together. Normally when I have to mix foundations or concealers, I just won't bother with it because I do have other products. This is what the shade, what is this? This is the shade 400 Caramel. That's what this one looks like. Normally when I have to mix two shades together in a foundation or a concealer, I just don't bother with it because I have other products that work that don't require me to mix two shades. But this one, I like it so much, I just feel like it's worth it to buy two. And even when I buy two, I think that these cost either $11 or $12.99. But even when I buy two, they're still cheaper than this, the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. And I absolutely love this stuff. But I feel like this L'Oreal concealer is actually a little bit better than the Too Faced one. So even though, yeah, I have to mix two together, like I said, I feel like it's worth it. This one is the shade 415 Honey. And I like blending out my under eye concealer with a brush as opposed to a sponge. So I'm just going to stipple this on my under eye area. Lately, I've been trying to layer the under eye concealer up. So I put on a lot less than I used to. And I'm going to blend out one layer. And I'm going to drag it up toward my temple. Once I blend it like right along the under eye area, then I'll take the residual and drag it down toward the bottom of my nose. I used to put on like a whole lot of concealer. Now I'm putting it on, layering on a little bit at a time and not putting on as much toward the bottom part of my nose because I just feel like it looks more blended right here when I do that. And then I'm just gonna go on with another layer, pretty much like the same amount that I put on the first time. So I am in total putting on the same amount of concealer that I normally would, but I'm just kind of like breaking up that amount into 2 applications basically. And then just, you know, blending it out, you know, 1 layer at a time. Okay, next up we're going to set the under eye. I'm only going to set my under eye area because this particular foundation, any foundation that I wear that dries down to like a matte or a soft matte finish, I just don't set them with powder because I feel like it makes it look a bit too powdery. So I'm only going to be setting the under eye, and I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder in Light. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've seen me use this quite a bit. I actually haven't used it lately, but this is like one of my tried and true drugstore products. I've been using it since it came out. I could probably go like 1 or 2 shades darker than this one. I'm going to show y'all what the shade looks like in a minute. I poured out quite a bit so that hopefully y'all can see the shade. This one does come off to be quite translucent on my skin, so I can get away with it, but I feel like I could go a couple shades darker. I'm just picking up some of the powder on the damp Sonia Kashuk sponge. I do have to be really careful when I set my under eye area because this area of my face gets dry really fast, and I noticed when I go in and set it with a damp sponge that does a lot better for me than using like a dry brush. And I guess just because the powder is dampened a little bit, that's adding a little bit of moisture to this area. But like I was saying, I could probably go a shade or 2, maybe even 3 shades darker than this one. But once I run out of this one, I have a brand new container of the same shade. So since I can get away with this, I'm just gonna continue to use this shade until I run out of the new container before I go buy another one. I'm gonna go back with my sponge, and I'm gonna use the foundation side, and I'm just going to further blend out right here where I've stopped my under eye concealer, and I'm also going to blend out a little bit where my concealer and my foundation are meeting each other, just to make sure that everything is really nice and blended. And like I said, I'm not going to set the actual foundation with a powder. Okay, I'm moving on to brows. I'm one of those brows after foundation and concealer type of girls. That's just how I do it. I'm going to be using a tried and true drugstore product. This is what I use every single time that I do my brows. This is the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil, and I like using the shade Brunette. Let me show you what the shade is really quickly. I hope y'all can see that. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me do my brows on camera or if you really don't care, but I will link my brow routine in the description for y'all, and I'll also put it up here, one of these areas. But until I get feedback on that, I'm going to do this off camera. So I'm going to do my brows off camera, and I'll be right back. Alright, my brows are done, so moving on to eyeshadow. First, I'm going to prime my eyes with 2 drugstore concealers. The first one is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer, and this one is in the shade Light Medium Beige. Now, I will say with this concealer, I bought this as an under eye concealer. Don't ask me why I bought this particular shade. I really don't know what I was thinking, but I don't like this product as an under eye concealer. I think it's a bit like sticky on the skin, like kind of like a little too tacky and hard to blend out. But because of that stickiness and tackiness, I actually love it as an eyeshadow base. So I'm going to blend this out on my lid. I like using a lighter shade on my lid than I do toward the brow bone. And then toward my brow bone, I'm going to be using the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the color Cool Tan. This is a tried and true product. For me. I like using a darker shade up toward the brow bone. And this one, like the concealer that I use up here, I don't really think it needs to be like super tacky or anything because I'm not putting a whole lot of eyeshadow up here, which is the reason I use a darker color. Okay, moving on to eyeshadow. This is a very recent love of mine. I've been using it for the past maybe week or so. This will probably be like maybe my 5th time using this palette, but I just can't put it down. I did use it in my last video, my Ulta haul video, and I've been playing with this palette like every day. I cannot put this thing down. This is the Milani Gilded Rouge palette, and this is what the color scheme looks like. This thing, like, and I haven't even used every single color in here yet. Like, I haven't used the color Hush Hush yet. But I mean, I feel like I've used every other shade in here, or at least swatched it, and I'm just like blown away with this palette. This is my first Milani palette, and I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to be using this today, and every time I pick up this palette, every single time I have used this color here on taupe. And yes, I'm going to be using it today because I just love it so much. The color on taupe to me is like a very nice everyday type of shimmery shade. So I'm going to start off by applying this shade to the majority of my lid, and my brush is dry, just so you'll know. But look at how pigmented this shade is. I just can't even tell you how much I love this shade. I've worn this shade every single day since I tried this palette for the first time. I've been experimenting with this palette lately, so I've been trying out like a lot of different shades in here. But like this particular shade, I could just put this all over my lid and then just use like one of these mattes just to like diffuse it out, and I'll be done. I know I'm just going crazy here, but I just really like this shade. All right, next I'm gonna go in with, I think I'm gonna try the shade, I've used this before. This is Avec Moi, this purple, almost like a lilac-y shimmer shade. I'm gonna plop this kind of like right in the middle of the on taupe shade. All right, I'm switching brushes to, this is the brush that came in the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette. I'm gonna be using this side up here. This is like a pencil side, and I'm gonna choose the color By the Glass. And I'm going to plop that on the outer corner of my lid. And I am letting it overlap the shimmers just a little bit. Then I'm just going to turn the brush around without picking up any additional shadow. I'm just going to kind of drag that into my crease and kind of like diffuse it out a little bit. All right, I'm sticking with the same brush. I'm just using the blender side of it. I'm going to take the shade Peach Fuzz, and I'm gonna use that to kind of like diffuse the look up at the top, kind of bring everything together, get rid of that harshness, so on and so forth. I'm going back into this matte purpley shade here, and I'm gonna plop that right on the outer part of the lower lash line, and I like concentrating the colors on my lower lash like right on the outer corner. I don't drag them onto the entire lower lash line. I like for them to stay right on the outer portion. And then I'm picking up a little bit more of Peach Fuzz, and I'm just going to use that to like diffuse the outer part of the look and just again make everything look a bit more blended and, you know, put together. I'm going to use the shade Old Fashioned as my inner corner highlight. I often take whatever color I use as a cheek highlighter and use that as an inner corner highlight, but I think I'm gonna use a shade from the palette. And then whatever shade I use on my inner corner, I like to always blend it back into whatever that first shade is on my lid. Okay, I actually feel like that shade is kind of dark for an inner corner. Like I can see it, but it's not very bright. So I'm gonna go on top of it with the shade Ethereal, this shade here. And it's just like a shimmery, like almost like a pinky peach shade. Yeah, and I hope y'all can see a difference. I feel like that looks better. It's just brighter. All right, so we're gonna finish up with the eyes later on. Now we're moving on to bronzer, and this is another product that I've been using like crazy. I just can't put it down. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I feel like I used this in my last 2 videos, but it's because I can't put it down. So this is what the shade looks like. This is the shade Endless Summer. This is one of the newer shades that they came out with because everybody really wanted them to extend the shade range for this bronzer, because before they came out with Endless Summer, and I forget the name of the other one, all of the shades were just like really light. So people with deeper complexions just couldn't use them. And this shade is exclusive to Ulta, just in case you're interested and you don't have it yet. And I feel like this is the perfect like bronzer shade for me. Not only do I like the shade, I just love how this bronzer applies. It just like, it applies like so effortlessly. As you can see, I have like a breakout going on right here. I don't know what that's all about. My skin usually doesn't break out like this. So that's like really irking me, but I'm gonna switch over to a smaller brush. I can't find the brush that I would normally use, but I'm just gonna take a smaller brush, and I'm gonna also use this to lightly define my nose. And I don't like a very like snatched nose. I just like a little bit of dimension right here, which is another reason why I like this bronzer, because it just doesn't look so harsh on me, especially on my nose. So even though this bronzer is already kind of soft on my skin, whenever I apply bronzer to the nose, I like to go back in with whatever I use to apply my foundation and just lightly dab it on top of my nose to kind of sort of like blend in that bronzer along with my foundation, and that helps it look just less harsh. All right, moving on to blush. This is another product that's relatively new for me. I introduced it in the Ulta haul video, but I've been using it every day since that video. This is the NYX Sweet Cheeks Matte Bronzer. Goodness. So that's the packaging, and this is the shade here. These types of shades I usually don't go for when it comes to, did I say bronzer? I don't know why I keep calling this a bronzer. This is a blush. It's a blush. I did that in my last video too. I keep calling this a bronzer. These color blushes I typically don't use. I will normally go for blushes that are more like more corally or peachy toned. But this one I do really like. The first time I used this blush, I felt like it was like a dead one match to the eyeshadow that I was wearing, and it made my face look very like monotone. But normally, like on a day-to-day basis, I'll normally put on blush but not eyeshadow at all, so I feel like it looks a little bit more natural on those types of days. But even though like this type of color isn't normally what I go for, I love this formula for a blush. I love the fact that it's super matte. When I say super matte, I love the fact that it doesn't have any type of glow or luminosity to it at all. It's like a straight up matte blush. Now sometimes when you use blushes that have like a luminous effect, it's good for having like a blush and highlighter all in one, but I just love the fact that this is like a straight up matte blush and no type of shine to it whatsoever. And I just love how it applies. I just love the pigmentation. I think it's the perfect level of pigmentation. Ooh, I had to catch my breath. I was talking kind of fast, but anyway, I think it's a good level of pigmentation. You can kind of go overboard and apply too much of this if you're not careful, but for me it's like a good level. I usually don't apply too much, so I just think it gives my face like a nice flush of color, and I guess it's something different because I'm always going for like the peachy tone blushes, so that's why I really like that. So again, that's another product that I've been using like crazy since I got it. Next up is actually another Physicians Formula product. This is the Butter Highlighter in the shade Rose Gold. And that's what it looks like. The consistency of it is basically the same as the Butter Bronzer. Nice and buttery, which is why they call it that. But this one, I love rose gold highlighters, but some of the ones that I have, they can be kind of like overpowering, and it's like easy to apply too much and give you like that really blinding highlight. This one I think is like really subtle, so that's why I like it. I'm also going to apply some of this on my brow bone, and that's that really subtle. This is like the most subtle rose gold highlighter I have. All right, I'm going to set everything in place with the Rimmel Stay Matte Fix and Go Primer and Setting Spray. I decided to try this instead of repurchasing my NYX Matte Finish Spray. And I do feel like I like this one a little bit better than the NYX one. I never thought that I would say that. But I'm going to set everything in place with this. Sometimes I wonder if it's all in my head that I like one product better than the other, because sometimes I feel like with this NYX or with this Rimmel spray, for instance, maybe I just like it better because it's something new. Because when I think about it, I mean, I guess it's really not necessarily better than the NYX spray. Like, to me, they kind of perform the same, but I guess I just get giddy about like trying something new. I've been using the NYX spray for so long that this is just something different that also works. But I haven't really repurchased the NYX spray since I've been using this one. Okay, I'm going to apply some eyeliner. I always do this off camera, but this is the NYX Matte Liquid Liner, and this one is in the shade Black, and I feel like this is the only shade that this one comes in. This is what I use every single time that I do eyeshadow. I just want to show y'all the applicator. One of the reasons I love this so much is because the applicator is just so like defined. It's very, very hard to get this like all over your lid. Yes, sometimes I do make a mistake with it, but you can get like really, really precise with this particular liner. So I'm going to use this off camera and I'll be right back. I don't ever do like wing liners or cat eyes or anything like that. I use liner to just really put it like really close to the lash line, and it gives the illusion of having a thicker lash line because I don't wear false lashes. But that's why I really like this, because the applicator allows me to get really, really close up to my lash line. Okay, this next product, I feel like this is another star of the show. I was actually going to do a dedicated video to this, but I decided to just incorporate it into this one instead. This is the e.l.f. Plump It Up Mascara. So this is the packaging here. Let me show y'all what the wand looks like. I like wands that are shaped like this, where the bristles are really like compact. This mascara, the reason I was thinking about doing a dedicated video on this mascara costs $5, and I think it's like a really amazing mascara. I don't wear false lashes, so I do experiment with a good amount of mascaras. This one really reminds me of my Butter London Power Up mascara that if you have BoxyCharm, we got that in BoxyCharm a few months back, and that's my favorite mascara right now, and I feel like this one is pretty close to being a dupe. I don't think it's quite as voluminous as the Butter London mascara, but it's really, this e.l.f. mascara is really good at volume, curling, and lengthening. And I love it. I use this on most days, and I reserve my Butter London mascara for days where I'm like doing a full face, except for today because we're doing all drugstore. So you guys can see the difference from one eye to the other. When I compare this to the Butter London mascara, this one does clump up just a little tiny bit compared to Butter London, but I feel like it's so minimal that you couldn't really tell. And if it does clump up, you can just take like another spoolie or something and just try and like remove the clumps. But in general, this is what the mascara looks like. I feel like for a $5 mascara, this mascara is just amazing. So let me know what y'all think. Okay, so we're all finished with the eyes, and we're gonna finish off the whole look with what has become one of my favorite drugstore lip glosses. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Slicks lip gloss, and this is in the color Bronze Berry. That's the packaging. You can kind of see the shade, but let me show you more up close what it looks like. I really love this shade on my lips. Now I will say that I guess by default I compare every lip gloss that I buy to Fenty. This one is not as comfortable on the lips as Fenty, and I really don't care for this really small doe foot applicator, but it's not like the end of the world. But what I love about this, like I said, it's not as comfortable as Fenty, but it is still a comfortable gloss. But what I really like about this is the shade on my lips. It's like a nice, like pinky bronze type shade. It's like a simple color. It gives my lips like a little bit of extra like pop to it, I guess. And if I wanted to, I could put on a lip liner, but I just feel like I don't need it with this particular gloss. I really like this color on my lips. I think it's kind of like my lip color, but a little bit better type of look, so let me know. So anyway, this is my finished look using a whole bunch of drugstore products. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video as much as I did. I really like finding excellent makeup at the drugstore. It just makes me so happy that I can find like really good quality makeup products that I really like and that are a lot more affordable than products at the drugstore. So if you did like this video, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up, and I really hope I will see y'all back for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.